and welcome to my Dell PowerEdge server upgrade project. What we've got here is an old aging PowerEdge 1950. This is a Gen 3 server. The problem with this box is it doesn't power up anymore. The power supply is just sort of hunt, it never actually fully powers on. This has actually got two quad-core 3 GHz Xeon processors in it, so 8 cores in total. So when it was running, it was quite a powerful little box. Now this guy here is another old G3 server. It's a 2950 this time, and so you can see it's a 2U unit, a bit more disk, but this has only got a single dual-core 3 GHz Xeon CPU. So it's got the same generation Xeon technology as the 1950, but this box does actually work. This is my production server. So what I'm hoping to do is take the two quad-core CPUs out of the 1950 and put them into the 2950 and remove the single dual core that's in there. So I've already had a look and I know what I need. There's one spare socket in there, one obviously occupied socket. So I've got myself a CPU heatsink for a PowerEdge 2950. This is a GF449. I got this, I think, off of, I think it was eBay. It was only about 8 quid, 8 or 9 quid. So it's been used. There is some residual thermal gubbins on there, but it's been quite nicely cleaned off. And so I've got myself some tubes of what do you call this stuff? Thermal. Oh, you know, the old heatsink grease stuff. So I've got a few attempts if I get it wrong. So what I'm going to do is take the lids off and start pulling CPUs out, and we'll see what happens. See if I can get it working. So I've removed the lids off of both the servers. What I'm going to need to do is remove all this shrouding to get to the CPUs, and the same thing on the 2950. It's really just a case of pulling on all the blue tabs and yanking the thing up. There's some little areas, it got little markings where there's push fittings, so you need to pull them out. And on the 2950 the whole lot just hinges up. It is a two-handed job, so it's difficult to video this with just one hand and also remove the shrouds with the other hand. So I'm going to turn the video off and then we'll come back once I've removed the shrouding. So on the 1950 we can see the shrouding's been removed now. We've got the two CPUs underneath these heat sinks. So I'm going to be removing these heat sinks and pulling the CPUs out. And on the 2950 you can see I've got a vacant CPU socket and the current CPU installed under this heatsink. So let's start off with the 1950. Now this server doesn't work at the moment, like I said, so I don't have to take. I'm not really too bothered about what state I leave the server in. And this might be a two-handed job. Just have to release the catches in order to lift up the CPU. Now the heatsink is probably going to be stuck to the CPU itself because of the thermal grease. So let's just see if it's going to lift up, or whether I'm going to need to use another hand. Ah, there we go. Okay, right, so the heatsink actually came off the CPU. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so the CPU itself has got a another mechanism securing it in place. Okay, so I can put the heatsink to one side, and then let's do the same with the other CPU. I'm going to release the catches, and then it's right. There we go. And there's the second heatsink. Right. So what we've got now then is the CPUs with covered in thermal grease. Probably what I'll do is just get myself a paper towel just to clean some of that gunk off before I extract the CPUs themselves. Okay, so here I've got my paper towel, a kitchen towel. So I'm just going to wipe off some of the excess thermal grease from the top of the CPU. Probably should be observing some anti-static precautions here. Okay, let's do the other one. Just want to get rid of the excess really, because when I lift the CPUs up I don't really want to get it on the pins. Well, I think these CPUs don't use sort of pins, I think they use pads on the bottom, from what I remember. So it makes it a bit easier to insert them into the socket. Just about to start seeing the writing on there now. Here's a part number. Right, let's put that to one side. Right, so let's push down the latch. Let's see if we can actually. Here we go. Let's do the same on this side as well. So we need to take note of the orientation. So you'll see on the left hand side there's a little triangle on both CPUs. That would normally be referring to pin 1. So obviously the orientation of these CPUs is very important, so we need to make a note that when we move them over to the 2950 that we use the same orientation. Now, is there actually a marking anywhere? So it's the bottom left. In fact, if you look at the socket as well, I don't know if you can see it, the left hand corner of the socket has got a chamfer. You see it on both CPUs. If you look at the other side, it's a 90-degree right angle on all the other corners. Okay, whereas this one has got a chamfer, so obviously that's indicating the location of pin 1. So when we and also there's a tab just here as well, so that it means that you can't actually physically insert the CPU the wrong way round. It's got like a locating tab, locating pin, just up by here. Right, again, I'm not taking any anti-static precautions, I'm just going to be really careful. Obviously try not to touch any of the pins. So let's go and extract. There we go, so you can see the first CPUs come straight out. So the pins are actually in the socket and the CPU's got pads. So this is different to old style CPUs where the pins would actually be on the CPU and the socket would be a traditional socket. So I'm just going to place this carefully. Let's put it on the shroud here just for now, and the same with the second CPU. There we go, just lifts out like that, lovely jubbly. Okay, right, so that's those CPUs extracted. Now I need to move over to the 2950 and let's have a look what we're going to have to do here. It's so let's just disengage the heatsink. Okay, right, so what's happened here? Well, I'm probably going to remove some of these fans. Oh yes, I can see what's happened. So, put these fans out. Luckily these are all removable. Okay, so yeah, there's a second catch just down here. There we go. So the whole unit has come loose. Let's see if the CPU, again the CPU is going to be locked down in a separate mechanism. So let's lift up the, here we go. Right, so there's my heatsink with all the grease. Let's just put that to one side. It's pretty filthy. Look at, actually if I hold it to the light. Okay, so none of the veins are blocked. It is quite dirty though. Put that to one side. Oh, that's all the crap that the fans have been sucking through. Let's get some more paper towel. And let's wipe off the thermal grease from this CPU as well. So this is the dual core CPU in here. So this will be my backup plan if it all goes wrong. I want to put this CPU back in. So I must be a little bit careful with this one. Put some paper towel down there. Let's push down the catch on this one. Okay, so again we can see, if I just go the other way around, the orientation is exactly the same as on the 1950. You can see on the 2950 that pin 1 is down in this bottom left hand corner again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is extract this CPU. There we go, so it just lifts out again. I'm just going to place that to one side. Just going to leave that on my paper towel. So let's disengage the catch on the empty socket. There's another fan, let's remove that fan. What's that say? Do not remove cap unless installing a CPU. Replace when CPU is removed or board returned for service. Alright. There we go. Oh, there we go. Just a dust cap. Yes, it's obviously protecting all the pins. Yes, there is a bit of dirt in there. Not sure if there's a lot I can do about that really. I'm just going to give it a quick blow. You can see on the it's sort of like a dark patch. I think it's just a build-up of soot between the pins. Not sure if there's a lot I can do about that. I think I'm just going to have to go with it and see what happens. Right, so let's get our CPUs, and I'm 180 degrees, so I've moved around the other way now. So my pin 1's at the top right hand corner. So let's just get the CPUs from the 1950. Drop that in there. Okay, give it a little wiggle. Yep, that seems to be located. Let's do the second one. Again, drop that in there. So remember, there's a locating tag just here, little tab, so we can't actually put these the wrong way around. Okay, so now let's close the latch on the socket. That's that one. And let's push this one down. There we go. So that's our two CPUs installed. Now we're going to reinstall the heatsinks. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to clean this one up. I'm going to use some paper towel just to clean up this one, and then I'm going to use the the thermal grease and install the heatsink. So I'll do that in a second. Okay, so I've cleaned up my heatsink now. You can see I've removed, again I just used a paper towel. There we go, just removed all the old thermal grease. So both my heatsinks are nice and shiny and clean now. I've got a tube of thermal grease here. I'm not entirely sure how much to use. I think I'm probably going to try using maybe half a syringe on each CPU because it will get squashed down quite thinly. So what I'm going to do is just squirt some on top of the CPU here. Oh, actually you don't actually get that much in God, is that it? Alright. I guess I'll use another one then. Isn't it? Here we go. Now you can see here it's a bit of a climate. That's the grey stuff. That's the only bit there, even though you've got all this length of syringe. There's actually only a little bit at the end there. Well, it was only 99p. Can't really complain. Right, so let's do the second one. Just squirt it out there, and hopefully when the heatsink goes on, it will just squish it all out. Here we go. Right. So that's my thermal grease in place. That's really, really important that you use this stuff. If you try and do this job without the thermal compound, I mean, it acts as a conductor for the heat. So if you don't use it, you're probably going to end up burning up your CPUs. They'll just get too hot and it just won't cool down. The whole system will probably shut down. Right, so then we need to drop the first heatsink down fairly vertically to try and get an even squash of the compound. There we go, I can feel it now. I can feel it underneath as I try and push down. Now this is probably a two-handed job. I need to hold, put the clips down and then hold the heatsink with the other hand. There we go. So that's that one in place. The battery's nearly flat on the camcorder. The video. Let's do the second one. So you can see they interlock the heat sinks in the middle there. There we go. I can feel that one settling. Drop the latches. Hold down. There we go. Right. So that's my two CPUs. All I've got to do now is put the fans back in, put the lids back on, and then power it up and see if it recognises the two CPUs. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. So down here is my 2950. It's all plugged in. So I'm going to turn it on. It's going to make a bit of a racket if it works. And then we'll look at the screen and see if it recognises the CPUs. Oh, that's a good start. Because the 1950 wouldn't even power on. Let's see. Let's go into the setup. F2. That's a good start actually, the fact it's got this far. Okay, it's recognised I pressed F2. Fingers crossed. Two quad-core processors. Fantastic. There it is. Two 3 GHz quad-core processors. Right, well that's looking good. So I'm going to go into the BIOS, have a little look, and then I'll probably put the system back and rack it up and get it back up and running again. But it's looking good. There we go. We're going to go into the BIOS now. Here we go. Let's look at the CPU information. Okay, so it's recognised it as quad core. There they are. There's, oh, fantastic. It's got both CPUs there. E5450s at 3 GHz. Fantastic. I'm going to have fun with this tonight. That's me signing off now. Thanks for watching.